So just as a conclusion, I just want to really remind you, which you probably already know, but when we participate in all aspects of our self-care, that totally improves our whole life and our whole life outlook. When we have made a mindful practice of self-care a priority, it really can significantly reduce our stress, reduce our anxiety and our depression. It's going to increase our happiness and our confidence and our energy. It's going to increase our coping mechanisms if we're dealing with any illness or medical problems or the stressors of life. It's going to improve our relationships. It can help prevent disease. It can increase our lifespan. It's going to improve our attitudes in a more positive way. We're going to start having more positive beliefs and thoughts and more optimism in our lives. And it's also going to just increase our self-worth and our self-esteem. All these things working together just increases the success that we have in our lives and the success that we're creating to get through menopause in a more successful way. And in turn, to be able to flourish through the rest of our life successfully too. When we love ourselves and care for ourselves and nurture ourselves, we are feeding ourselves. We're giving ourselves joy and happiness and peace and just a generalized overall well-being. And that we're giving a gift to ourselves. We're allowing ourselves to become a better person. Not that we weren't good, but we're better. We're always improving. And when we give ourselves this joy and this well-being and this peace, it increases our vibrations to match to our true selves, the self that we truly are on the inside, our soul self. It helps us become on a more even level so we can start living in a higher vibration with more positive aspects to our life. And just that being said, I thought it would be kind of fun to do a little self-assessment on where we might be lacking in our self-care and our self-love for ourselves. So this has to do with what we've been talking about this whole week, this whole session, is our self-awareness, our self-acceptance, our self-worth and esteem, and our self-care. So I would like to just give you a couple of, well, several different analogies or stressful or difficult situations that we find ourselves in that have to do with how we express our self-love, and see where you might be weak in that aspect so you can concentrate on that to help improve yourself. So what I'm going to do is list them, and then I'll have you write down where you think in that list of self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-worth, self-esteem, self-care, self-compassion, self-awareness, where that falls. Okay, so the first one is feeling overwhelmed or stressed. So where does that affect your area of, what area of self-love does that affect? Just write it down. And then the next one is unhealthy relationship. What area of your self-love does that affect? And then when you don't allow yourself to have fun, or you feel guilty when you're not doing anything that seems productive to you, how does that affect your self-care or self-love? And the next one is playing small or doubting yourself. like you don't really feel like you're living up to your full potential. Where is that affected? And this is a big one that I think we do our whole lives and will continue to work on it, is our self-judgment, our self-criticism, our self-comparing. What aspect of your self-care is that affecting? Or what aspect needs more strength to work on that? And then what about if you've ever been critical of your body image or anything that has to do with yourself, and then you become obsessive or have anxiety over that? What part of your self-love is that affecting? The next one is, what about making fear-based decisions? And have you ever not been sure of who you are, what you want to do, or that you're living up to your expectations or the expectations of others? And then I have two more. What about when you feel unloved or unworthy? Where is that affecting your self-love and self-care? And last but not least, where do you put pressure on yourself to do, be, have, or want more versus celebrating or accepting the goodness that you do have? And we're just going to quickly go through them, and I'll let you know. So when you're overwhelmed or stressed, the areas where you're weak on would be your self-care and your self-worth. And then your unhealthy relationships, the areas that are weak or need strengthening would be your self-awareness, which include honoring yourself, trusting yourself, being honest with yourself, and with your self-respect. So that's all through your self-awareness. Then when you don't allow yourself to have any fun, that has to do with your self-worth, your self-care, which includes the pleasure that you are allowed to be happy and have fun and find pleasure in life. And when you're playing small and doubting yourself, don't feel like you're living up to the full potential, the area that's affected is your self-worth. So that decreases your power and it decreases your expression. And then when you judge or compare or criticize yourself, the area that is weak is your self-love and your self-worth and your self-compassion. When you're critical of your body image or anything else that has to do with yourself, and then you start having anxiety over or obsessing over it, has to do with your self-awareness and your self-acceptance. And then when you make fear-based decisions, that has to do with your self-worth, your self-love, and your self-esteem. You're giving away your power and your trust. And when you're not sure of who you are or what you're supposed to be doing or not living up to your expectations or the expectations of others, that's affecting your self-awareness, your self-worth, and your self-esteem. Again, decreasing your power and decreasing your expression. And then when you feel unloved and unworthy, that's affected by your self-worth, your self-care, your self-acceptance, your self-compassion, and your allowing of pleasure. And then the last one, when you put pressure on yourself for wanting to do, be, or have more rather than just accepting the goodness that you do have, that affects your acceptance, your worth, your self-care, your self-compassion, and again, your pleasure. So those are all pretty big ones that I imagine we've all experienced. And if you look back on them, it all has to do, a lot of it has to do, well, with several aspects, but the most of them is your self-worth and your self-acceptance and your self-love. So as we all can, we need to really practice on giving ourselves that acceptance and love that we need to help get us through at this time. So I hope that helped. I thought it was kind of fun to do. And we have covered a lot in this section. You may want to go back and review some of the things that we talked about. And next week, we are going to work on gratitude, and we're going to bring everything together, working together on how we can embrace ourselves and helping us get through this journey, continue to nourish ourselves so that we can continue to flourish through this journey of menopause and definitely into our next best life. So I will look forward to seeing you then.